What if confidence didn't feel like a performance? What if growth wasn't wrapped in pressure but in peace? Hi, I'm Ayompela, and this is the Embrace podcast. I started this space because I know what it feels like to look in the mirror and still not see yourself. To chase self-worth in all the wrong places, to be growing but still feel stuck. From body image to confidence and self-worth, we do it differently here. Through honest stories, Christ-like compassion, and gentle truths, you learn to embrace your whole self. Confidence isn't built overnight, but it can be built with love, and you don't have to do it alone. Welcome to your soft place to land. Welcome to the Embrace podcast. Hello boys and girls, hello ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's episode of the Embrace with Ayompela podcast. If you're just listening for the first time or you are an OG listener of this podcast, you know that I am Ayompela. If you're just listening, you should know that I am Ayompela. Ayompela of Lagos, Ayompela of the whole world, Ayompela of Nigeria, whatever you want to call me. I'm sure Ayompela. I'm Ayompela of the Most High God, more importantly. Clock it. So yeah, welcome to this episode. I'm so grateful that you're joining me on this beautiful Friday. It's been an amazing week, actually. Not amazing in that something grandeur happened for me, but like I did something way out of my comfort zone, to be honest, and it was something that I initiated myself, and I did not die, you guys. I really thought I was gonna die. I didn't die. I did something way out of my comfort zone, something that I would typically not do, and it was really cool. So this, if you're looking for a moral lesson, this is your moral lesson. This is not me saying you should go and text your ex. This does not apply to texting your ex. Thanks and God bless rather. But yeah, do that hard thing. Interestingly, I saw a post over the course of the week that said that one of the best ways to beat, your aversion to taking risks or doing hard things is I think of the worst case scenario. And I've forgotten how the person put it, to be honest. I think they said, think of the worst thing that can happen, realize that they are not that bad, and then take the leap. I saw it after I had done the hard thing, but it was very validating for me. But anyways, I'm not here to yap about my personal life and bore you with all of that detail. You already know why we are here. You have seen the title of this podcast. You probably saw a promotional material, let's say a flyer or something, and you were like, oh, I really want to hear what this babe has to say. Or you're just here because you like my voice, whichever one. I'm happy that you're here. But before we get into the episode, I'm going to start with a confession, right? And the confession, ladies and gentlemen, is that my birthdays have actually never been my own. At least not up until last year. Full stop. Actually, maybe not full stop, because I obviously have to explain that, right? But I've always believed in making my birthday count for it. I always believe that you hold the power as the celebrant to make your birthday really count. So I've always held that belief personally. And instead of depending on other people to do it for you. Sorry about the sniffing. I'm a little bit under the weather. But yeah, I've always believed in making your birthday count for yourself instead of having to depend on other people to do it for you. But because for me, productivity and achievement has always been equal to self-worth for myself, I always wanted to do something worth celebrating on my birthdays. So you would always find me trying to launch a blog or write a blog post or do something very grand, something that people will see and be like, wow, she's a high achiever. Wow, she's a productive person. Wow. So if you find me for the past couple of years, I'm either launching a blog or writing a blog post, or I've just always wanted to do something grand around that period. And I wasn't doing it because, that's how I am, I really like these things. I was doing it because I wanted to be seen as somebody that was worth celebrating. Do you get? Like for me, productivity and achievements are like the only things that are worth celebrating. How productive, how much you've achieved, rather how productive you are. Not kindness, so not the fact that you have a good heart. So if someone posted me and said, you're so kind, happy birthday, I'm like, okay, and like, yeah, I'm kind, but like, okay, what's next? For me, it's like, that's not a big deal. Can we move on to something more grand? Do you get? So I would always time my doings in quotes with my birthdays because I always thought I needed to do something to make the day feel special, right? Thankfully, it's something I'm actively working on because last year, oh my goodness, you guys, last year was such a good year for me because I made sure to drop all of that. I had fun on my birthday, and even that entire week, actually, I did the most mundane things. I fixed my nails, I made my hair, and I went out with my partner. It ended up being the best birthday yet. And I even created a folder for it, like on my in my gallery. I created a folder for the memories just so that it serves as a digital time capsule. I can always go back to say, oh my, I titled the folder in my gallery 25 because I clocked 25 last year. And so I always go back to just look at something like, oh my god, I had such I can actually feel the emotions from that day, look back at it, or from that period, I look back at it with happiness because I was actually connected to this birthday compared to before where I was just detached, just doing what I thought I should be doing and not what I wanted to do for myself on my birthday. Because you would assume that it's your birthday, you should be celebrating yourself. But no, I wanted my achievements, and I felt so detached from those things that I did not even know that and it was a subconscious thing that I was just doing. The difference between those two periods of time for me was that in the first period where I was performing and everything, I was performing because I wanted and expected people to see me and appreciate me a certain way. And not just that, but I also thought that that was what defined me, like my identity, my worth, my value. If you're not a productive person, if you're not somebody who has achievements, then you don't really matter. That's what it felt like for me. And so when you're posting and you're not acknowledging those things, I'm like, bro, like, can you keep your birthday wish aside? Like, oh, you say, oh, you're kind, you're so sweet. I'm like, okay, can we talk about the important things? Like, how about my productivity? Do you get? But last year, I just allowed myself to be and celebrated me, not the overachiever, not the version of me I thought was only worthy of celebration, just all of me. And I have come to find that a lot of people are in this category. You believe that your worth is only valid if you have achievements. And now, don't get me wrong, you should have achievements, right? If you're an ambitious person, for example, it's a good sign that you have achievement. I don't think I put that well, but you get the point, right? Now, don't get me wrong. So there's intrinsic value, just as you are, just as God has made you. But then there's extrinsic value, what you contribute to society. And I think that as a human being, you must strive to acknowledge both of them. The extrinsic value is less about who you are and more about what you can do. It has nothing to do with your worth, your identity as a person. It's like, okay, what do I contribute to society? What can I do with myself, with my hands? But the problem now arises in your mental health or even in society generally, where you now begin to confuse both values. Right, you start thinking that, oh, as necessary as it is to have skills to build a career, in this world, you now think that your true sense of worth is now rooted in these things that you can do, these things that you have, instead of knowing that you have immense value regardless of your external output or your achievements. And this is a category that some people don't even know. It gets to a point. I was reading an article by a founder, a CEO, a startup founder, where he was talking about it was during the COVID when he couldn't work really hard because there was COVID. You know how COVID forced everybody to be still. It forced everybody to sit down with their thoughts, with their marriages, because oh my god, I heard so many stories, or I saw so many stories when people forced people to think. There are people who there was a void in their marriage, but they were always going out, so they didn't really know. It was when COVID forced them to stay at home, they realized, oh, there's something actually wrong with this marriage. But then this is not a marriage conversation. I'm just trying to explain how that period forced a lot of people to sit down still. I was reading an article by this father who said it was in that period where he couldn't do a lot of the activities, the moving around, because he used to travel a lot for one trip, one business trip or the other, just to feel, like he was doing something. It was when he couldn't do all of that he realized that he felt really empty, right? This is a lot of people fall into this category. It's like if I work hard rather, and I have outputs to show for it, then I matter and I deserve to exist. And the problem with being this person, I have stories for days. The problem with being this person is that you will always work from a place of anxiety. You don't know how to rest, and you think it's a flex. Like me now, I worked a lot. When I say I have stories for days, I don't even think this is the platform to say all of your stories. I can only share bits and pieces, right? But like I used to hinge my identity. And when I say used to, it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm not perfect. It's still a work in progress. Don't get it twisted. Right? So like I used to hinge my identity on my work rate, my productivity. My friends would tell me to rest, like relax. And I thought it was a flex. I was barely sleeping. I just wanted to be doing something, I just wanted to be doing something, just pressing laptop, just doing something productive, reading an article. I did not even know who I was because I was only chasing the things that I thought I should be doing. My best friend, like my friends would call me out, especially my best friend, because she knew me the most or she knows me the most. She'll always remind me that God will provide, or just trying to help me to deal with the state of mind I was in. Even me, I did not know that I was in that state of mind. I thought it was normal. I found every other person who was not working, trying to achieve, very, very strange. I even thought they were lazy, to be honest. Like in my head, I'm like, how are you going to make it? You're taking life as it comes. You're working hard, but like you're not pressing the way I was pressing. Like, why are you not gingered? I'm like, and then everybody like, oh, I'm like, you guys don't get it. This is just how I am. I'm an overachiever. So I did not even know that there was, but thank God for friends that have sense, because they can see even what you cannot see in a season. I didn't know. So she and my other friends always try to get me to rest, to not be anxious, to just understand that, there's more to life than this thing that I'm doing. But I did not. One day, it took even God, like, not that it took even God, but one day during devotion, I wish I could tell this story, but I just don't want to make this podcast so long. The most random thing happens where my pastor screams my name, one of my pastors, during evening devotion, for something that was almost totally unrelated, screams my name and goes, "You talk about, you need to rest." The devotion wasn't talking about rest, it was talking about something random, right? And she screamed it, like, and it felt like God was the one screaming at me in that moment. Because you are not hearing what, but you are not hearing what, you need to rest. And of course, I went on because I did not understand rest. Rest felt like a strange concept. So I didn't understand what they were talking about. I went ahead to continue my hustle, to continue my drive, in quotes, until my health, of course, eventually forced me to pay attention to it. And God's mercy, because it's not like anything terminal happened or has happened, but God is helping me to figure it out. But that's the thing, you will always be working from a place of anxiety, from a place of unrest. You will just be in survival mode because your internal value is already staked to how well you're performing externally. So you'll be functioning from this place of psychological threats. So for you, work is not just, oh, I need to do work. It's like your survival mechanism. You have this hyper vigilance, rather, that keeps your nervous system in a constant state of on. Like your nervous system is always on. You're always on the move. You're always thinking about work. You're always anxious about something you have not done or a task you have done. Another thing that it does is that it makes it hard for you to recognize or celebrate your achievements. You have this relief. The relief of finishing a task is very fleeting. Like it comes and it goes in like 2 seconds. And the mind immediately focuses on another thing that you have not done. You don't know how to bask in the one that you have done. Once you see, oh yeah, I'm done, you are relieved. Then you're thinking, okay, there's another one I need to do. You're always, and you struggle to celebrate progress unless like you have completely finished that goal. Another thing that it does is that it makes rest hard for you. When you have time off, you feel like you don't deserve the time off unless the time off is preceded by like exhaustion, like we are tired. If it's a rest that is just, oh, I just need to rest, not that you are tired or you think it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to rest. Like, why would I be resting when I'm not tired? For you, rest has to be earned, right? It's not something that you deserve. It has to be earned. You feel restless or anxious on the days when you don't have any clear accomplishment, right? On the day where all you did was probably just clean your house, you swept the floor, you tidy things up. If you didn't have any clear, visible accomplishment, you feel like you just wasted your time. If all you did in that day was just journaled, you sat with your emotions. Like whenever people will tell me, oh, that's all I did today, in my head, I'm like, that's all you did in a day? Not a single achievement? It used to bust my head, I'm not going to lie, because your brain is on. You always want to be doing something that is accomplishable, in quotes. You also prove your existence through busyness. Being busy is a way for you to avoid that feeling of worthlessness that you have. So when you have a quiet schedule or an afternoon where you're doing nothing, you'll be panicking because you are like, where's the evidence that I'm useful? Where's the evidence that I'm valuable? You find that evidence of your existence, of your worth, of your value in the things that you are doing. So when you're not doing anything, you are actually panicking. And the annoying thing about this business thing is that you might not actually be doing anything that is productive in quotes, or anything that leads to to your progress in that sense. But your brain has convinced you that you sure have to be on. You sure have to be doing something. So it might not be anything that helps you achieve your goals. It might just be the most basic thing. You may just be looking at your laptop, just being on your laptop and maybe reading articles. You can't close your laptop. You cannot off your mind because you feel like I need to be busy. I need to be doing something. It's not normal to not be busy. Even watching a movie will feel illegal, right? You judge your days primarily by how much you have gotten done. And there's so much more. And there are so many reasons why people are like this, right? Sometimes it's conditional love. You grew up in a home that your love was measured by performance, and as human beings, we are wired rather to desire belonging as a mechanism for safety, for survival. It's even in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's the sense of belonging. You want to feel among. You want to feel belonged, for lack of a better word. So if you grew up being the person who you only felt accepted based on what you could contribute, or based on what you could achieve, or based on what you could perform, let's say your parents would only tell you they love you when you passed an exam, or they even made it clear that you are useless except you were doing something worthwhile as a child. If you grew up with that kind of lifestyle, especially at home, then you might become this person who has now hinged your identity to productivity. Or for some other people, it's just low self-esteem and insecurities. For some people, it's fear of failure and inadequacy. For others, it's just this hustle culture that we have, that capitalism has given to us so freely. Capitalism gave us hustle culture and anxiety, right? So this hustle culture is just this societal pressure that equates being busy with importance. And it is a problem. I've said it a lot of times in this podcast. But for the sake of those listening for the first time, and also for the sake of a refresher, when your self-esteem is dependent on what you produce, your mental well-being will be vulnerable to life's unpredictable changes, because life changes. There's nothing. I give this example all the time. Many of us grew up using and loving BlackBerry. Many of us, for that was the pinnacle of success. If you wanted to know that somebody has arrived, they were holding a BlackBerry. At some point, it became the iPhone 6. That was the pinnacle. It was a status symbol. BBM was such a thing. I think that BlackBerry Messenger. Everybody wanted to ping. I need your ping. I can't remember what they used to call it. I was like 13 or 12 when the thing came out, so I can't remember. But like, everybody wanted to ping. Everybody wanted to be on BBM. It was such a flex, right? But guess what? Now it is not the thing. It is iPhone 17, iPhone 12. I don't even know. I think iPhone 17. I genuinely am not a gadget freak, so I don't know what gadget is the thing now. But I know iPhone 17 is. Everybody seems to be talking about it, and everybody, actually, where I'm from, phone is like a status symbol. Those things come and go. Another thing I always talk about is beauty standards. Right. Interestingly, I saw a video just yesterday where a lady in another part of Africa, I can't remember her country right now, was talking about how in her own country, if you have flat stomach, they will assume that you're not feeding well. They will assume that you don't have money. So a sign of wealth is that you still have, like, you have a round, robust, or a rotund belly. This was something that was even a thing in far back, like centuries ago. It's still a thing in some African countries. It's still a thing in some parts of the world. So if your worth is in all these things that are changing, your achievements, you have achievements today, tomorrow you don't have achievements, you would lose your mind. You would actually lose your sense of identity. And once you start questioning yourself at the core, it affects your happiness, it affects your peace, it affects your joy. This life is filled with instability, right? Markets will crash, industries will change, companies will downsize. If your worth is tied to a job title, for example, losing that job means losing your identity. It is all these things are conditional. They require you to constantly maintain them, so you are only as good as your last achievements. And this creates a cycle where you can never actually stop to rest or feel satisfied, because you are only as good. You think you're only as good as your last achievement. And it doesn't help that these things are beyond your control. Economic recessions are beyond your control. Company downsizing is beyond your control. Beauty standards changing is way beyond your control. All of these things are beyond your control. So you are putting your worth, your sense of worth, in things that not only can you control, things that you cannot control rather, but also things that always change, or that will definitely change. Many of the things are social constructs. Beauty standards is a social construct. It's definitely going to change. It's always changing. It's always changing. There was a time when slim girls were the it girls. Now everybody's going for curves and BBLs, and people are doctoring their bodies and all of that. These things are outside of your control. So if your worth is constantly is rooted on these things that are constantly changing, or things that you have no control over, imagine what it does for your mind. Imagine what it does for your sense of identity when these things actually change. And it will also for anxiety, and not just anxiety, chronic anxiety, because your value is on the line, is up for debate, is up for auctioning every single day by the highest bidder, right? So your value is up for debate every single day, every single second. You are thinking, you are analyzing your value, analyzing your worth. It leads to anxiety. It leads to burnout, it leads to perfectionism, it leads to imposter syndrome, and your goalpost will only be moving. Like I said earlier, your brain will quickly adapt. Okay, so now we've done this thing, we've achieved this. What next? What next? You don't know how to just calm down and bask in the things that and anybody who cannot celebrate their wins will almost never feel satisfied. And that's the state. You will now find yourself in a state of burnout when you don't think you are valuable. That's why you see people who are high achievers feeling like they are worthless, feeling like there's no point to life. And you're wondering, bro, you have all the money in the world. Or you hear sad stories of people who have everything you think they should have, killing themselves. And when you think about their lives in retrospect, you say that, oh, they've been singing or talking about how they feel worthless, they don't know where they belong in the world. And you're like, how can you not? If you don't know where you belong in the world, what should I not be saying? You're a celebrity, you have everything that people should have. And that's because these things do not satisfy. They don't answer the question of your worth. Now, away from all of that, the real question, the real thing that brought us here is, what do you then do when you are in these states, when you find yourself always rooting your worth in productivity? And that, assuming you did not even know that you used to do that, this podcast has opened your eyes to see it. What do you do? I'm going to share some things, because detaching your self-worth from productivity actually requires a lot of rewiring, because your brain is already used to moving a particular way. You have to retrain your brain to value being over doing. That's to value BEING over do I. Did I say do I? D-O. Oh my goodness. DOING. So yeah, you want to value being over doing. You want to prioritize being over doing. And I'll share some of the practical things that I started to do. And please, if you have not subscribed to this podcast, this is a good place to start. This is a good place to do that. Please click the link to subscribe and share with people that you know. There's definitely somebody in your life that you know that needs to listen to this podcast. So don't hoard it. We don't gatekeep over here, right? Share the podcast with them. So I'm going to share some practical things I started to do. But the first thing I want to say, which is something that I've said in bits and pieces across this episode, is that your worth is not in your busy schedule. You should know that. If you don't already know that, I'm telling you, your worth is not in your busy schedule. It's not in your well-curated to-do list and your vision goals and your mood boards and all of that fancy stuff that we tend to do. You are a human being who is worthy because you exist. You have value in this world. Again, like I said earlier, there's extrinsic value of what you bring to this world, value of what you contribute, and that is important. But that is not what your worth or your value as a person is tied to. Accept that your worth is inherent and cannot be earned. It cannot be increased or decreased by performance. I won't talk about this a lot because I have about 4 to 5 whole episodes on this particular subject. So I did them in January. Sometime in January, I did about 4. That entire month, I spent that entire month talking about worth and all of that. So I won't talk about it a lot. So please, I advise, or I recommend, and I suggest that you go and listen, because we were really, really packed. And I poured out my heart in those 4 episodes, or 5. I can't remember right now. But yeah, you should go and listen to them. But the practical things I started doing, I think the first thing I'll say is to notice and to name. When the guilt of resting shows up, you want to name it without judging yourself. You can name it without obeying it, like I saw somewhere. Don't deny it. Like I will always say, like most people would always say, the first step to solving a problem is even acknowledging that there's a problem. Awareness, be aware that, oh, I'm beginning to do that thing again where I am tying you call it and you name it for what it is. That's the first thing you want to do. Don't bypass the feeling. Don't ignore, oh my God, don't just shake your head and say, this is not me. Name it, question it, like say something about it, like acknowledge, okay, this feeling has come, this feeling where I feel, or you're trying to rest, for example, like you are resting, not rest that is caused or triggered by stress, just rest, because as a human being you deserve to rest. So you're resting and your mind is telling you, you should be doing something, or you should be working, or you're wasting your life. You call it out, you name it, you notice it, And then you have to tell yourself that I am not wasting time. It's a lot of rewiring, it takes a lot of time, and I'll get to that. But the first thing I want to say is notice it. Don't ignore it. A lot of people who are very productive, who are high achievers, who tend to just take like gym, just always moving, always moving, they tend to not pay attention to their emotions. And that is, I'm speaking from experience, by the way, just in case you did not already know. Experience is what is making me talk like this. So yeah, I do not pay attention to my emotions. I'm always just on the move, going, chasing the next thing, right? Chasing the next thing on my to-do list, the next goal. I don't know how to just be still. If you want one way to actually just, kill me is to tell me to calm down and be still. What is that? I remember doing a therapy session one time. I was in therapy sometime last year. And one of the reasons, aside the fact that I was very busy and I couldn't keep up, one of the reasons why I stopped was because she told me to sit down with my emotions and figure things out. I'm like, what? I have to like leave work and sit down. It feels like a strange concept. I'm like, there's money to be made, there are goals to be met. You're telling me to sit down and be thinking about emotions. It did not feel like something that made sense then. But now it makes a lot of sense to do it. So when your mind is telling you, oh, rest is undeserved, you need to work hard before you can rest, you have to tell your mind, right? And again, I'll get to that, but the first thing that you must notice is be the kind of person who can pay attention to what you're feeling and name it for what it is. Then the second thing I would say is you're going to have to train yourself to rest without feeling guilty, and there's no other way to do this than to do it. You can read all the articles, you can listen to all the podcasts, but if you don't actually do it, the training will not happen. You have to do it. That's why I'm going to cut to the chase and just tell you, rest without feeling guilty. It will feel weird. I won't lie. It will feel weird I remember when I had to rest, when I was forced to rest the later part of last year and even into this year. It felt so strange, not doing anything, not opening my laptop, not having to do anything. It is so strange. It will feel strange even till now. It still feels strange, but it doesn't feel as strange as it used to be. It feels strange the first few times, but you have to keep going. At the company where I worked, one of the companies where I worked before, my line manager, who is very productive, she's very smart, very intelligent. When I mean somebody is productive to the team, she's an overachiever. One of our meetings, she was telling us about how she has a day in her week where she does absolutely nothing. From her angle, she was talking about how that is good for creativity, because I worked as a marketing person in that company. So like, she's talking about how it is good for creativity, where you're just looking, it's good to be bored. I've talked about this in this podcast also, why you need to be bored even more, because it's good for creativity. It's good for you to just calm down. You're not stimulated by social media, by the things, by noise and all of that. But in this context, it is good to rest. When I heard that, it was so shocking when she said, oh, I have a day where I'm doing nothing. I'm like, bro, me that I am not even up to your position, I find it hard to rest. I find it hard to have a day where I'm doing absolutely nothing. But it really stood out for me. And after I left the office and now that I'm learning how to rest, I see how that makes so much sense. It is important that you rewire your mind to actually say that rest is important. Have a Sunday afternoon where there's no to-do list. Watch a movie once in a while. Take a nap. Consciously reframe that time as necessary human maintenance. It's not just a wasted time. And the only way to get better is to be doing it. You have to keep doing it. Sometime I'll tell my brother, seize my phone. I want to not try to fill this, resting time with something, because I want to probably scroll on social media or read an article. I'll drop the phone far away from me. Just do stuff that it makes it easier for you. But you must train your mind that resting is important. The third thing is like, there are simple things that you can do. I'm going to list some of them. First of all is to have zero productivity hobbies, like things that are not like, oh, I'm trying to achieve a goal, like maybe painting. And this is not something that you want to monetize, because in this our generation now, planning this digital economy, we want to monetize every single thing. So you're not monetizing this, just something you're doing for fun. Like now I indulge in LinkedIn games. I play games on LinkedIn. This is not something I'm monetizing. I'm just doing it for the fun of it. I had to learn to start doing stuff. Before, I would think I was wasting my time. Now I find I enjoy those things, and they're even helping my mind even better than being overproductive mode, right? So you have maybe word search, Sudoku, do something that is nice. Just draw, paint, find an art and paint it. Even if you're not the best, if you're not the best artist, just do something nice, right? This is not something that you want to monetize. It's not something that you necessarily want to flaunt on social media. Just something that you enjoy doing. They are not productive in the sense of what we define productivity to be, but they are just stuff that you can do. So you should have that. And then when people ask you, this one is Very important. When people ask you, what do you do? Resist the urge to define what you do strictly by your achievements. Like, practice to introducing yourself with things that are more than just, oh, I'm a Fortune 500 person, or I have this. I'm not saying don't add it. I mean, if you worked that hard, you should probably add it, but resist the urge to make your life about that. Right, resist the urge to make your life about what you have achieved. You can introduce yourself with your values, your interests, the random things that you enjoy doing. If you're the kind of person who likes to watch K-drama, this person, I am a marketer, I love K-drama. Introduce yourself about with different other things, your passions, your values, things that exist outside of work. I'm a dog parent, I love dogs. I'm a huge fan of documentaries, just stuff that are not only strictly based on achievements. Okay. Another thing is to practice on productivity. I feel like I've said this earlier. Just spend 15 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day where you're doing absolutely nothing. Just look at the sky or look at the ceiling. Just be looking. Aside the fact that this is also good for your brain generally, it helps here. So it's a win-win situation. Every single article that I've read on rewiring your brain would always have this included. Just do nothing. You also want to rewire your mind and let your mind know that sometimes it's okay to just allow your mind to be okay, to just think. You don't have to fill it up with doing something. Another point I would give is to create boundaries with your work and your personal life. If your work is always bleeding into your personal life, your brain will struggle to see where your job ends and when you as a person begins. So you want to have like firm boundaries. So okay, at this time of the day, I'm going to shut out from work. I'm going to not respond to work emails or do anything, and then I'll change my clothes after work just to signal to my brain, okay, this is now, I've left Stockwell as a marketer, I've now entered Stockwell as a human being, as a full human being. So do like just clock out the work productive part of it. But you should have times in your day where you do that. Maybe you're just watching a movie, you're catching up with friends, you're just being you, right? You should do that. Clock out the overachiever and clock in the human part, the full you, for lack of a better word. Another thing you want to do is to reflect on your motivations for achieving. I've had to do this a lot over the past couple of months, right? Why do I want this thing? Why am I pursuing this goal? Am I doing this for myself or to gain approval? What would it mean if I did not achieve this thing? Would I feel like I am worthless? You want to start asking yourself these questions. They help you identify whether your goals align with your authentic desires, or if they are from you're just trying to gain approval, or you just feel like if you don't do these things you are going to lose your identity, right? Another thing you want to do is, and this one is actually very important, you want to shift your self-talk from outcomes to character, and as a believer to also what God has said about you. When you look at your day, stop only analyzing your day based on what you were able to do, right? Or what you checked off your to, because I noticed that we always have this dopamine rush when we are able to tick things. Oh my God, I did this, I have it, I love it. I love to tick things off my to-do list and all of that. But you also want to build a habit of praising yourself beyond what you have done to also who you are. You are a kind person. You want to learn to affirm your character as a person, right? Because that way you are training your mind that I am not all productivity, I'm not all outcome, I'm a human being with or without these things. You are more than your achievements, your character, your kindness, your resilience. Those things are also important. Your strength as a person, right? If not even more than your checklist, they're very important. When I used to hear people being proud of themselves for things like, oh, I'm kind, I'm like, okay, and like I said earlier, even during my birthday, people wish me happy birthday and they're wishing me up, telling me, oh, I'm kind. I'm like, I get it, but can we talk about like my achievements though, like the things that I am doing, my work rate, my productivity? Can we talk about that? But now I've had to learn that there's more to life than that. Some people don't even care about that, sadly, right? So like you have to train your mind to realize that beyond being a productive person, you are a human being, you are a good friend, and you must be a good friend, because the curse in quotes of being a productive overachiever, sometimes you tend to value human relationships less, and that's not a good thing, right? So you want to make sure that you're a good friend, you affirm, I'm a good friend, I'm a kind person, and just all of that is important. This is even important even in choosing a partner, like in what you look out for when choosing a partner. But I am not a relationship coach, so I'm gonna leave it here. Lol. I'm going to leave it here. If you want further clarity, you can reach out to me privately, but I'm not a relationship coach. I'll leave it here. But yeah, and as a believer, it is also important that you affirm what God has said about you. The creator of the universe is important. What he has said is important than anything else that changes, anything else that passes away, because God does not pass away. Full stop. So you want to make sure that you affirm as a believer what God has said about you. The one who doesn't change with trends, with times, with seasons, with achievements. Whether you get promoted today or you don't, he still calls you worthy. He still calls you loved. He still calls you valuable. He still sees you as valuable. Not because of what you have done, but because of what he has done for you. And that is something that does not change. It is so important that you know this. And this is something I've talked about again in the worth series I talked about in January. So please, as I said earlier, go and binge listen to those episodes. Another thing I would say is, when I see myself, these are also other little things I do. When I see myself feeling bad for an achievement that somebody else has that I don't have, that makes me feel like, oh, I am less than the person, I remind myself that is not what my worth is hinged on. Again, I name and identify the feeling. I don't ignore it, and I remind my mind that this is not what my worth is. It might sound cliche, it might even be cringe, but you need to do it. You actually need to do it. You also want to interrupt guilt. I've said this before. When you are resting and your mind is telling you, if you don't rest, you will never make it. If you rest, rather, you are sleeping, your mates are hustling, you are doing this. When your mind is doing all of that, and I'm telling you things that my mind tells me, you guys. So when your mind is doing all of that, you want to tell your mind, challenge the self-talk, right? Tell your body, rest is productive for my health. Stop saying, I can relax after I have done this. That's the only time that I can relax. It's okay to just stop now. I remember one time in church, I was talking to a friend that as much as a church member, we're just having a conversation, that as much as I hate being sick, it forces you to rest, right? And I appreciate that, and that's so silly. She called me out immediately because she knows my history of not resting. She knows my history of anxiety, of my intense toxic work rate and all of that. And she was like, if you were the kind of person that was always resting, you will not need sickness to force you to rest. And it struck me, because I'm like, bro, she has a point. She actually has a point, right? You don't need to wait for sickness to force you to. And sometimes sickness doesn't do it in a very good way, so please just avoid it, right? You don't need sickness to force you to rest. You deserve rest because you are a human being. So challenge that narrative, challenge the hustle narrative. When you notice that societal pressure or social media is starting to make you feel inadequate because of what you have done, you need to just log off. Or if your accounts, I said this last week in my last episode, if the accounts that are constantly triggering these things, just mute and block them. It is okay to do that, right? And I will always say this, it will take time. This healing from these things in quotes is going to take time. You've spent 30 years, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years being this person. Don't expect automatic healing. Don't expect that with the snap of a finger, you suddenly become somebody who can now rest. You're constantly rewiring. Your brain is already used to a certain way of life. You're going to have to rewire and train your mind to now see another way of life. If you need to speak to a therapist, please do that. But growth is continuous, it's not linear. You will have to keep trying and failing and naming and identifying these feelings as you go. And now, as I conclude, as I wrap up, I should also say this. I know I said it earlier, work is important. It is important that you are productive. It's important that you achieve your goals, but you must not do that from a place of anxiety, from a place of survival, like this survival mechanism, this survival mindset. Once you can tackle or learn to detach your worth from your productivity, from your outcome, those things are not who you are, and you must learn to do that disconnection in your head. Once you can learn to do that, you will learn to work better and you will feel better. So this is not a podcast that is encouraging complacency or laziness or lack of ambition or drive, right? Do the things that you need to do to become a better person, to contribute to society, to have an extrinsic value, be a good work person, be a good employee, be somebody that when they recruit you, they'll be proud that they have you, right? Have good goals. I'm not asking you to be an overly ambitious person. Some people just want simplicity, and that's okay. But just don't be a lazy person. So this podcast is not me saying, be lazy. It's just I am tackling the mindset, the worth, right? Where you are hinging or rooting your worth. And I hope that makes sense. If this podcast was helpful, found it very helpful, please subscribe, please share. And you can also ask me questions. I'm very open to questions. You can send me a DM. You can even drop a comment on one of my posts if you don't mind. But you can send me a DM or an email. All of the details you need will be in the show notes or the description of this podcast. It was so lovely talking to you guys today. I can't wait to talk to you next week. I really can't. Have a lovely weekend, TGIF, and I'll see you in my next episode. Toodles!